Wonderful presentation, thank you. I'm moving on to the international focus, international perspective. I'm moving on to a national perspective here. We're going to be talking about runaways in America. We're going to be talking about what it is, human trafficking here in the United States. You know, I started out working with runaways and child prostitution, child pornography, right about 35 years ago, back in 1978. I was working a crisis line in this area. And a lot of calls came in, children who had run away from the farms to the small towns to the bigger towns to Minneapolis, and they'd step off the bus or they'd step off the train or get out of a car that they're hitchhiking on. And immediately, just like that, they would be identified by the predators as runaways. They'd be identified as, it was my cell phone, that's ironic. They'd be identified immediately as runaways, as women who are fleeing domestic violence. They would be immediately spotted and identified for what they were, and that's children who are homeless and on their own. So I went out to schools and I started begging with them, don't run away, because if you run away, you're going to die in the streets. 1 in 3 teenagers in the United States who run away is approached within 48 hours and asked and induced into, made the invitation into prostitution. 1 in 3. You know, people run away and they think they're going to go to New York City. They think they're going to go to a big city and they're going to make it big. Heck, they were the star at the St. Paul High School Theater. And they're going to go to New York City. Instead, they go to New York City and they are on the streets, and this becomes their career. You got a beautiful 15-year-old girl. She's scared. Oh my gosh, she's scared. Sometimes we talk about conversions. Well, she's about to be converted. If I were to walk out of one of those rooms and see her right now, I wouldn't see a scared 15-year-old girl. I'd see a hooker. I'd see a prostitute. Some people think of prostitution as Julia Roberts in the movie Pretty Woman. Oh no, it's not. It's filthy. It's dirty. It's disgusting. People are mean. People bite. They burn. They spit. It's an ugly, ugly life to be in. Someone says the girl wants to do it because she's making money. No, she doesn't. Most prostitutes in the United States are there by force or by fraud. They're being blackmailed or being coerced. Again, you look at prostitution and you look at pornography and you think, wow, this is amazing. I've talked to behavior analysis in international agencies who have studied online pornography, and they estimate that 90 to 95% of the women and the children engaged in online pornography do not want to be there. Most of them are drugged. They've been date raped. They're somehow under chemical induction. So after college, I had a lot of great job offers in the corporate world, but instead I went to New York City. And I decided to go after the boys and the girls from the upper Midwest, Minnesota, and other states, and track them down. And I learned very, very quickly, while I was working with child prostitutes and runaways and street gangs in New York City back in 80, 81, 82, that period, about prostitution, about runaways. Now this data, I'm not going to use up my time by reading them all. You can get them, I believe there's also in the material. We also have handouts for you with this information. But you just take a quick glance down that information. Oh my gosh! Look at that. You might turn 20 to 40 tricks a day at the age of 13, 14. As I said earlier, this is somebody's son, somebody's daughter who went, like that little girl who just got converted. Well, you know, and then sometimes people do not want to. Back in Amistad, back in the days of slavery, when we think about the Civil War, People in Africa walking down the village streets, walking down the paths, they'd get clubbed over the head, they'd be dragged away in nets, they'd be loaded on the ships, and they'd be taken across the sea. You know what? Nothing has really changed. It's still the movement, the forced movement. 800,000 people trafficked every year internationally. And they're not being clubbed over the heads and nets thrown over them differently. It's a different style, it's a different MO.
The law never gonna be the same after this.
No. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, these are great. Right. Yeah, I want to try this one on.
Maybe red. Try it. You'll never find a dress like this.
Okay. Okay, but I want to try this one first, and then I'm gonna try them. He is so beautiful. Yeah. How long did you do that for? I'm not so much. I did. See, like third.
This could happen at any mall in Minnesota, suburb. This could happen anywhere in the world. And it does. Children. I have raised sons and daughters, and my heart breaks every time I see that. I just imagine the fear. You know, the people are brought in. 17,000 people, according to the United States Department of State, brought into the United States every year to feed this industry. 17,000, divide that up by 50 states. 100,000 child prostitutes working the streets of the United States right now. Quite many of them sold off the backpages.com and other online sites. When I was working international between 89, 90, 91, I'm going to hit this one first. The blue states are where the kids who run away run from. That's where they run from. And then you have the kids, the red states, that's where they're running to, as I said earlier, from the rural to the smaller towns to bigger towns to the streets where they think they're going to get the jobs, and they don't. And they don't. When I was working overseas in 89, 90, 91, I was on a United Nations contract, U.S. State Department contract over in Southeast Asia, and I ran into this boy. And I looked at him, I said, "You're American?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin." But he is dressed as a transvestite standing in an alley in Malaysia selling his body. And you think, how the heck did he get there? Imagine this person here has a car. Brand new, 2014 Lexus. They buy it, they use it for 6 months, and then they downsell it to somebody else. And then that person drives it for 2 years, and then they downsell it for a cheaper price. And then somebody buys it, and then somebody buys it, and then somebody buys it, and maybe 12 users later, I buy it. This boy, taken off the streets, could have been sent to Long Island, could have been held against his will on a private estate, and then down-marketed into a home in Denver. And from the home in Denver, lived for 6 weeks where he's down-marketed onto a ranch 3 hours outside of Denver, and then down-marketed once again. As I said earlier, it's all about business. It's all about the profit. It's all about the profit. I have a master's in business, and I did that so I could understand the work that we're doing better. The top centers for human trafficking within the United States are the bigger cities, of course. Why? Where would you put a gas station? Where the cars are. Where would you put centers of human trafficking? Where would you carry your prostitutes? Where the people are.
Here you go. Signature. The situation's really very simple. You wanted to come to America, and we got you here. But it all cost money. Your passports, visas, tickets, boarding, it all adds up. And now, each of you has accumulated a debt worth tens of thousands of dollars. Plus, interest and other expenses. Means, until you finish paying that money back to us, usually in a few years or so, we own you. Please understand, it is not my intention to cause you misery. We are in this together. But be very certain that if you try to run away, someone will pay the price. I have all your information. Where you live, how many brothers and sisters you have back home, everything. So if you get the urge to try to do something that might threaten our arrangement, you will get that urge and control it, or inevitably someone close to you will be hurt. Well, these two in Washington, keep them clean. These guys complain about bruises and cuts. This one's been already housebroken, so take it easy on the face. She stays here. Boston, Queens, in that order. That's it. Get them acquainted and hit the road. Dress up.
You know, I've got all of your information. Where your sister goes to school, where your mother works, where your brother goes to school. Those girls might have paid to come over. They were engaged in human smuggling, not force or fraud. But when they got here, the contract changed, the rule changed, and suddenly, I own you. If you do anything to try and break our arrangement, and you will get that desire, somebody close to you will pay the price. She can't run anymore, thinking about her mother or her sister or her little baby brother, than if somebody had a gun to her head. In fact, I would rather have a gun to my head than somebody to hurt one of my sons or daughters. I would much rather have that. But the line in this clip that always bothers me is when they say, these guys, they complain about cuts and bruises. Really? Who are the guys that see the cuts and the bruises and still pay the money to have sex with these women or these children? Again, it's just business. Through friends and your family, and get involved in your community. Every NGO that is here, most law enforcement bureaus that are here work with volunteers. We need volunteers. We need volunteers. I'm with the Institute for Trafficked, Exploited, and Missing Persons. What happens if you don't? This woman here, and I'm going to close with this story. I am. She was on a ship. She graduated from high school. She went out with her parents on a cruise line. She came up to her parents and said, "Can I go out?" And they said, "Yes, who are you going with?" "I'm going out with 3 ship workers from the cruise line." And they said, "That's great, we know them, they're great guys." They went off the ship, she did not appear. 6 months later, she ended up over here in Barbados. And she leaned across the table and she said, my name is Amy Bradley. I've been kidnapped. I'm an American. Please help me. She said this to an American Air Force officer. The American Air Force officer took a $20 bill, put it under his drink, and walked away because he's in an off-limits bar. He didn't tell anyone for a couple of months, and then he felt so bad he told his commanding officer. And his commanding officer told the FBI, who went in looking for Amy Bradley, and of course she was gone. Well, you can see pictures of Amy Bradley today. It's just that she doesn't look like her high school picture. She now looks like this. That is Amy Bradley. Right now, she's probably most certainly not alive. But that officer had the chance, had the opportunity to say yes, even make an anonymous phone call, and save that beautiful girl's life. When it comes down to it, it really is all about you. Learning, saying yes, and taking that step to save lives by reporting it, getting involved, and doing the absolute best you can. That's all anybody asks. Thank you.